Fala galera, bem-vindos a mais um vídeo do canal, eu sou o Zach e vamos continuar com a nossa série de Tangle Tower. Se você estiver gostando, deixa aquele like, comenta aí se você estiver achando quem é o seu suspeito e bora pro vídeo. Quando eu tava gravando, eu vi que, editando, eu vi que eu deixei uma coisa aqui, uma cartinha aqui, ó. Eu vi durante a edição do outro vídeo.
It's been opened, but the letter's still in there. Let's read it.
Isn't that an invasion of someone's privacy?
No, definitely.
O envelope foi aberto, apenas uma folha de papel dentro. A combinação está aí na outra página. Quando eu tiver decorado, destrua o papel. Eu não concordo com seus motivos, você não vai encontrar nada lá embaixo. Tá, né? Vamos voltar aqui para falar com ela, com a nossa Miss Simpatia.
It's not in my interest to discuss personal details.
Even if you're one of the suspects in a murder?
Very well. Let us make a small exception. Ask.
Oh, what are you doing here?
I'm on a case at the behest of my client.
How long have you been at Tangle Tower?
133 hours. 5.5 days.
Fugiu da aula de
Who are you working
matemática.
for?
I am not at liberty to answer that. Now, I shall permit you one more question.
What crime are you...
How'd you get that scar? It's cool.
You really think so?
Ih, ela gostou.
As it happens, I completed an examination of Flora's room on the morning before the murder. I've been investigating every single room at Tangle Tower. Hers was one of the last on my list.
Did you find anything unusual?
Nothing but a thin layer of dust and an atmosphere of somber melancholy.
Was Flora in there at the time?
She spent the duration of my search staring up at the sky, out the open window. Didn't say a word. Although I'm told this is the expected behavior.
What did you do after
Desde
that?
o dia
I
anterior
spent the
mesmo.
early evening searching the library. It took longer than it should have. Fiona leaves that room in a permanent state of disarray.
Fiona was in the library too?
I expected her to make an appearance. She did not.
And you stayed in the library the rest of the day?
Not quite.
Depois eu pego depois do falar pra ela falar
Quite the
das
stoic
pessoas.
statue, isn't she? I can only dream of being as cold and indifferent as Freya Fellow.
You think she's hiding something?
Perhaps. She has some strange habits. I heard she barely sleeps, an hour here or there, sporadically. Spends the rest of her time staring up at the sky. Professor Pointer's a respectable astronomer. Keeps himself to himself. What?
We're just surprised.
That was the most polite you've been about anyone.
Poppy has remarkable musical talent. She could be famous, wealthy even, if she wanted to.
She'd probably have to leave Tangle Tower first.
Quite. Freya Fellow is of great interest to me. I perceived her to be the most intelligent individual here at Tangle Tower. Within a day,
Todo mundo
she
fala
had
bem dela.
identified for whom I was working and for what I was searching. I didn't know how she did it. I was impressed. I regret that I did not question her more thoroughly when I had the opportunity.
You couldn't have known she was about to be killed, though.
I have only myself to blame for failing to perceive the signs.
What signs?
I do not wish to do your job for you,
Tava
detective.
demorando ela mandar uma, né?
314 cases
Gente,
solved.
olha o currículo.
314. Conveniently left anonymous. It's useless until you can prove to whom it concerns. Can you do that?
No?
No. Who's that?
Not sure. It doesn't really look like anyone we've met so far.
Strange. The paint is still wet.
Yeah, well, we know Freya was in the middle of painting when she was killed.
Do you know that? How? Because you were told? You truly consider this a case file?
What's wrong with it?
No organization, no system.
That's my style. I like seeing everything laid out at once. Yeah, it helps me think.
How quaint. Paints?
Yep.
Paints.
Mm-hmm.
You got it open. I'm impressed. I managed it myself yesterday. I thought Flora might be hiding something in there.
It was empty yesterday, too.
It was. Perhaps it's
Essa
always been
investigação dela
empty.
tá muito estranha.
Is that a clue?
Dunno. It was important enough to be framed, though.
I framed my law degree. Doesn't make it a clue.
Same. Yeah?
Some breed of amphibious humanoid. Potentially bipedal. Although none of the statues show the creature's feet.
I guess we'll never know.
Have you deciphered the meaning of those 4 symbols on the harp?
We're working on it.
That's a no, then. Makes quite an impression, doesn't it? Although I can't imagine why she painted Flora wielding a knife.
You didn't see a knife anywhere in Flora's room, did you?
I did not. I conclude whatever stabbed Freya must have been brought into the room from outside. Unless, of course,
Ah,
it was
não.
the painting itself.
Surely you don't believe in that kind of thing.
A detective's job is to examine every avenue of thinking. I believe that was in Flora's room yesterday, but it was not cracked when I saw it last. Where did you find this?
Do you have any theories about where this might have been?
Or who might have had it.
I have several theories, but they are my theories, and I'm not going to share
Quando a
them.
gente acha que ela tá de boa.
A somewhat cumbersome device, and an altogether inefficient way to listen to music.
What kind of music do you like, Hawkshaw?
I like anything.
What a cop-out.
Tá, né?
Where'd you dig that up?
It wasn't buried. It was underwater.
Someone trying to conceal evidence, perhaps? Tangle Tower. No idea why they insist on calling it that. It's not even a tower. It's little more than a pair of turrets stuck on either side of a mansion.
Have you searched the whole place?
I believe so. Why?
He wants to know if you found any secret rooms.
Huh. I'm afraid the residents of Tangle Tower are far too ordinary for anything like that.
Não, eles não são
I was
normais, não.
disappointed too.
This belongs to you, Hawkshaw?
Correct.
And, what is it?
It's my handheld microscope for up-close investigation work.
What do you magnify with it?
Trace particles, dust, oils, clothing fibers.
Have you used it here at Tangle Tower?
I have. I used it to examine the greenhouse only 2 days ago.
What were you looking for?
That is between myself and my client.
Nossa, depoimento.
Towards the early evening, my examination of the library was unexpectedly disrupted. Sounds of running, wailing, shouting from several floors above. I vacated the library, but before I could begin my ascent, Professor Pointer appeared. He emerged from the Pointer staircase, crossed the hall, and begun up the Fellow staircase. Our eyes met. He was breathless. Something had caused him great alarm. He told me to stay out of the way. I consented. I decided to return to my office in the stone square. As I was passing through the front door, Penelope called out from behind me. She was clutching the banister of the Pointer staircase with an apprehensive manner. She wished to know where Professor Pointer had gone. I told her what had transpired. Then, she too crossed the hall and disappeared up the Fellow staircase.
É outro depoimento que tá batendo.
More so than at any moment prior, I felt like quite an intruder in the house. I took my leave, out towards the stone square. The grounds were silent. There were no signs of human life. Even the greenhouse was without its typical inhabitant. I noted that he, too, must be entangled in whatever was transpiring in Fellow Tower. An unremarkable hour passed before the gardener finally made his appearance. He spoke to me of what had occurred. His report was as clumsy and cumbersome as the man giving it.
Did he seem upset?
He was rattled, that much was clear, but sorrowful, mournful, I cannot say.
Tá, né?
You ever see a mushroom that big before?
Not in real life.
Vamos seguir agora para cá.
This one's in a little pot.
Okay, that is definitely not edible.
It looks like a gemstone, don't you think?
Pera aí, vamos pegar aqui. Uma fruta envasada com casca dura, lembrando uma pedra preciosa. A terra no vaso possui uma incomum cor azul. Tá bom, né?
That's a handsome beetle. Looks like he might have magic powers. A little chart of, actually, I have no idea what it's about.
Puzzle. Que isso?
Kinda reminds me of a periodic table.
Greek letters, I think.
Bom, não sei o que tem que fazer aqui não.
What do you make of it?
Not a whole lot.
Olha o cara escondido aqui, que sinistro.
Sally, don't move. We're being watched.
Yeah, I see him. He's a little too big to hide in the bushes.
Né? Ninguém vai falar
Is
nada.
anyone going to say anything?
Nossa.
Or shall we just stand around staring at each other?
Right, sorry. Sorry.
That's better. I'm Sally. And the guy hiding behind me is Detective Grimoire. Who are you?
Fellow, the gardener.
Mm-hmm. And why are you so tall?
Tá, né?
I don't know.
You work here as the gardener.
I don't get paid to do it. It's just my area of interest.
What's the deal with the plants? They're all kinda weird.
Right. Did you see the lake?
That giant green and purple lake surrounding the entire house? Yeah, I clocked it.
The color is just a byproduct.
Of what? Poison?
Ele se
It's
esmou
not
que é veneno.
poisonous. Not to you.
What's this got to do with the plants?
The water controls all life, just like anywhere else on the planet. Clouds form, rain falls. The water grows the plants, animals eat the plants. Anything you've perceived as an irregularity is simply a result of this hydrological cycle.
Could you say that again, but like condense it as if you were talking to a slightly stupid person?
Our lake water causes the unpredictable alteration of DNA, sometimes.
Alteration? Like mutation?
That'd be the official term. For us, it's normal. Just nature.
And you're the local expert on all this stuff?
No, I'm just the gardener.
Tá, né? Fala sobre isso aqui.
Who gave you that information?
Well...
We don't actually know who it was. We were contacted anonymously.
I see. And what happens if the person who contacted you turns out to be the murderer?
I
Nossa, ia ser.
never thought about that.
Honestly,
bem
that would be kind of
engraçado.
fun. Like a twist, you know?
Nice painting. Gives you a pretty good idea of the layout.
The lake looks like it forms a perfect circle around the island.
It might seem strange to you, but nature is quite capable of producing perfectly geometric forms.
And those mountain cliff things around the outside?
We don't know much about them. They're unscalable. Not even Freya could have gone up there.
What's that?
This painting, it's speculative. There are no photographs from this angle as far as I know.
So Freya just made it up.
Let's call it an informed estimation.
Tá, né?
Any idea who this is?
No idea. Paints are
Por que
different to
estão tentando
flowers.
esconder ela?
I'd say so, yeah.
At any time, flowers can bloom with perfect, faultless colors. Red, blue, white. With paint, once you've tainted a color by mixing it with others, not even the most skilled painter can return it to its pure form. That belongs to Poppy.
So why is it up in Flora's tower?
I'm not sure. That looks like it might belong to Poppy. That looks like it might belong to
Nossa.
Poppy. It's of no interest to me, but I overheard Poppy and Freya talking about it once.
What were they saying?
E por que a
They
Pop
were
não falou
arguing
nada?
about something, but I can't remember the details. It's an egg with feet.
It was locked, but we opened it. But it was empty.
Fun story. Poppy's piano music. I remember when she started learning. She's improved a lot since then.
Yeah, that's generally how it works.
Right. Of course.
What do you think that is in Flora's hand?
I don't know. It does look like a knife, but Flora wasn't holding anything at all when I saw her after the murder. But there's something bothering me. Something else.
What?
When we went into Flora's room, she wasn't standing in this position.
Well, she
Ela ia se
probably would have
mexer,
moved
né?
around
Ela
a
bem que é
little
uma
bit then.
estátua, mas nem
She
é tanto.
wasn't standing at all. She was kneeling on the floor. What's with the
Tava
broken glass?
deitada.
This is a good example of how things work. I mix that soil here in the greenhouse. It's made with water from the lake.
And it makes the fruit grow all shiny and gemstony.
Sometimes. You never really know what's going to happen.
And what do you do with this shiny and edible fruit?
You look at it. There's something off about this.
What is it?
Why don't you take another look at Flora's room?
You think we missed a clue up there?
Not exactly.
Estranho.
I've seen beetles with brightly colored shells, metallic shells even. They're relatively common, especially around here. There's a difference between that and actual gold.
It can't be actual gold. Gold is just inside the earth or whatever. You can't make it. That's called alchemy. It was a whole thing.
A cara dele é
How
melhor.
odd.
You ever seen this before, Fitz?
No, but I don't normally go into Fifi's room.
That's not where we found it.
Oh, I just thought it looks like it belongs to her. I like Flora. I hope she's all right.
Do you think she had anything to do with the murder?
There's no way. She wouldn't
Muito
willingly
óbvio.
cause any additional suffering for anyone.
Até agora, quem que vocês acham que deve ser o assassino?
Poppy and I are friends.
Oh, I can buy that. Dark clothes, blue hair, an average of 3 words per sentence. Oh, you're like 2 peas in a pod.
She's very kind, and she has an interest in plants. Unusual flowers, mostly. I've been teaching her.
Right.
Is something wrong? She was always kind to me. She'd come into the greenhouse when I was working, sometimes by herself, sometimes with Poppy. I think they were just bored at first. Eventually, they started asking questions.
About what?
Poppy wanted to learn about flowers. Freya, she used to ask me about the insects.
Insects?
One of my jobs is to protect plants from things that might eat them. Freya brought me this little glass box, leaves and twigs inside.
Peraí.
She'd say, put all the troublemakers in there. Every day I'd put a handful of beetles and other things in the box. Then she'd come along and take it away. I didn't really understand her, but she was always kind.
Eu tô achando muito estranho. Aquela
Have you met
pesquisa
this
do
guy,
besouro deve
Fitz?
ser dela.
Shifty eyes. Doesn't say a lot. Totally suspicious, if you ask me.
That's me.
Yeah, that's... It was a joke. I was joking.
Oh, I see.
Nem pra dar uma
She
risadinha.
questioned me,
About what?
my work, the plants, bit of everything.
Did she search the greenhouse?
No, she didn't.
You sure? Maybe she did it when you weren't in there.
No, she hasn't touched it.
Ué,
How
quem
can you
será que tá
tell?
mentindo?
Trust me. I can tell.
I imagine you don't visit the astronomy tower too often, do you?
No, but I still see Pointer, sometimes. He's always curious about what I'm growing in the greenhouse. Asks me about the birds, too, and insects. He's pretty clued up on his evolutionary biology.
I didn't think
Biologia?
there was much overlap between astronomy and biology.
I was in my greenhouse, watering and weeding.
Sounds exciting.
Was anyone else around?
Not at first. Penelope came in a little later. She likes looking at the flowers, I think.
Did you speak to each other?
A little, not too much. We both left the greenhouse in the early afternoon. I went up to my room. Then I came back outside to weed the main gardens. Didn't see anyone else. After that, I went up to the garden outside my room.
And?
Let me guess. Watering and weeding.
Right.
Did anything happen to you yesterday, Fitz?
Dá seu depoimento,
I
vai.
was up in the rooftop garden. It was quiet. And then, it wasn't. I can't describe it. Could have been a scream, but it didn't sound human. We thought it was coming from Flora's tower, so we went up there.
We?
Poppy was with me. Did I not mention that? Flora's room was locked. That's normal. She usually locks it from the inside. I knocked on the door and shouted. Nobody responded. We became concerned.
You kicked the door down?
I did. Poppy and I went in. Freya was right there, laying on her back. Flora was there too, but I barely noticed her at first. Poppy left the room for a while. When she came back, she had her father with her, and Fifi too. Penelope arrived shortly after that, with Felix in tow. I thought that was odd. You don't normally see the two of them together. Felix took charge. There was nothing else I could do to help. I wanted to go back to my room, but I realized nobody had told Detective Hawkshaw anything. I found her pacing back and forth around the stone square. When I approached her, she snapped at me. I think she was annoyed about being made to wait outside so long. But when I told her about Freya, she fell silent.
Estranho. Só ela não foi no quarto.
Fitz's room is unlocked. It's up in the Fellow Tower.
This could be interesting.
Sim, vamos lá. Nossa, próximo ao escondido.
Hello.
Not hidden very well, is it?
Doesn't need to be. It's locked. It's a combination
É um
lock.
puzzle.
Sort of.
Vamos lá. Vou pegar isso aqui. Botar aqui. Isso entra aqui. Eu vou dar um corte nesse vídeo, tá, gente?
There we go.
Oi.
Perfect. Anything in there?
Yeah, it's wrapped in a cloth. Hold on. Huh, that's kind of ominous.
Uma pazinha de jardinagem de metal com um padrão decorativo. Possui um padrão decorativo entalhado e as letras de cada lado de um coração. PPFF. Não deu pra entender.
It's locked, but it leads outside.
I thought we were halfway up a tower.
We are.
What's that thing by the handle?
Que isso? Bom, eu não sei o que tem que fazer aqui não.
Let's come back once we know what to do.
Bom, vamos nesse lugar grandão aqui agora.
I don't like mirrors. They steal your soul.
Hã?
How do you get your hair so symmetrical without using a mirror?
I do it by weight. I can feel if one side is heavier than the other.
Ah, é.
An especially fancy cage.
And it's home to 3 especially fancy birds.
3 passarinhos coloridos em uma pesada gaiola ornamental.
Bird diagrams. Hand painted.
They're beautiful. Someone really knows their stuff. They're bird cages, but the birds are coming and going freely.
Is that a metaphor?
Oh, it totally is.
Vou falar com ela.
Oh, just beautiful. What is it?
Huh?
Sort of a delicate jade, but with a little seafoam green, is that right?
Sorry?
Your hair, dear! Which shade do you use? It's lovely! In that shape, you're really pushing the envelope.
Oh, thanks. I do what I can to offset Grimoire's beige on brown ensemble.
Detectives don't need to be brightly colored. We prefer to blend into the background.
Oh, you're the detective? Delightful. Penny Pointer, pleasure.
Is that short for Penelope?
Officially, yes, but I never can be bothered with all 4 syllables of it. Penelope sounds a little ostentatious coming out of the mouth, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah.
20-something, Aquarius, love to travel.
Aquariana,
Nearly
não
all
confio.
my friends are birds.
Travel? Where to?
Anywhere at all, as long as it has species worth studying. Ornithology, they call it. I call it the only thing I've ever been good at.
And have you studied the birds here at Tangle Tower?
But of course! Where else do you think I developed my love of the field? No matter where I go, I always find myself coming home to Tangle Tower.
Because of the birds.
Oh, no, because of him! Silly to admit, but I suppose I can't bear for us to be apart.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, don't you know? My fiancé,
Oi?
dear Fitz. He's not really the traveling type, you see.
Fitz Fellow.
The very one.
You're engaged to a member of the Fellow family? That's interesting.
I'm not especially interested in whatever tedious feuding goes on between our two families. Fitz and I find it much easier to stay out of it altogether.
Tá, né? Cantar sobre os objetos.
Haven't seen this one in a while. He lives in the music room, doesn't he?
Currently.
Freya doesn't take very good care of her pains, does she? But then she was always rather bohemian, had her own priorities. Oh, that's rather sad. Hello. Who penned this juicy little number?
We don't know. It's not signed.
An anonymous letter? Classic clue.
Tá muito animado.
I don't know what that is. I can't decide what's worse. How she looks here, or how she looks now.
Do you know who this is? In the photo?
Oh, absolutely no idea.
É Pop. Tava no quarto dela.
How terrible.
You recognize it?
The color scheme. 3 different pinks. Obscene. Finally! I can see a detective's case
Tá
file.
muito
That's a
animadinho.
very specific thing to be excited about.
Well, only last week I asked that miserable hogshot woman if I could see her case notes.
I'm guessing she said no.
Would have been much more polite if she had just said no. Instead, she was quite rude to me. Accused me of being, what was it? A shallow sensationalist.
Fala sobre você.
Oh, she's beautiful! Who is she? Wait, is that? Is that me?
Ai, Jesus. Olha lá.
Not a fan of insects myself. Whose research is this?
We were hoping you might know.
No, can't say I. Freya, perhaps. I know
É.
she was always very fond of grubby little things like this.
Noted.
Oh, did Fitz show you that?
Not exactly.
We found it hidden under his bed.
Ah, right. Looks a little simple for Poppy, doesn't it? Thought she was a grade 12 or something.
I didn't know there were that many grades.
I'm sure they invented some new ones just for her. Poppy's gramophone. She's had it for a long time. As a young child, she'd call it her mama phone, on account of it belonging to her mother.
That's cute.
Oh yes, adorable. Gaudy old thing, isn't it? Flora seems very fond of it. I've never understood why. But then I could say the same thing about her husband.
Ui.
Heyo!
Ooh, delightful. More of a gemstone than a fruit, isn't it?
Inedible, too, I think.
Yes. At one point I thought Fitz might be growing them to sell them. But honestly, I think he just likes the way they look. I'm sure I've read about this creature somewhere. Don't remember anything about him playing the harp, though. Goodness me. Poppy really doesn't take care of her belongings, does she?
It wasn't in Poppy's room. It was in the little pond in the garden.
Exactly! Hardly the place for it.
Jesus, gente.
You know, it's probably quite impressive. To a visitor, fresh eyes and all that.
Not to you.
Try living in it for 20 years. The sheen wears off. If it wasn't for my fits, I'd have little reason to stay.
What about inheritance? You're the next oldest pointer after your uncle, aren't you?
Well, thank you very much for phrasing it like that. But no, any money left in the Pointer family will pass down directly to Poppy.
Is that fair?
Couldn't care less, to be perfectly honest. I doubt Freya intended it, but the overall effect is a little unsettling. Don't you think? It's Flora that's the problem. She's an inescapably haunting presence.
Realmente.
I must say the girls are awfully well behaved today. I think they know we're in the presence of company.
They belong to you? Why do you keep them in a cage?
They need a special diet, particular treatment. I let them out to fly occasionally, of course. But they're all one of a kind. I couldn't let anything happen to them.
Do they have names?
Of course. Let me introduce you to Tabitha, Tamara, and Tatiana.
I've already forgotten all three of those names.
Which one is which?
Oh, that's simple. Tatiana is the oldest, Tabitha is the most patient, and Tamara has the best sense of rhythm.
Glad we cleared that up.
What about the one on your head?
On my head? He's just my hat. He doesn't have a name. Who would name their hat?
Hã?
A fellow bird.
Adorei a
enthusiast.
musiquinha de fundo.
She's quite the expert, truth be told. Studied them professionally
Flora
at one
gosta de
point.
pássaros.
I think her father taught her.
Are you friends with Flora?
A little bit.
A little bit friends.
She's one for the peace and quiet. I dare say I'm a little too loud for her.
I can see that.
I do admire her, though, really. Always felt like she could have done better than settle for Felix.
Ouch.
Nossa.
I said it. She's a most unsavory little... She was incredibly rude about my appearance.
Which part? The giant bird arms, or...
If I were her, I'd go easy on the judgment of others. I mean, look at her. She looks like the ghost of a scarecrow. I just wish Uncle Pointer would tell her to behave herself.
Professor Pointer? Why him?
Oh, it was Uncle that called her in. She's his responsibility. Did you not know that? She'd sit
Nossa,
in the
mudou a
aviary
musiquinha.
first thing in the morning and paint the birds. Sometimes she'd ask me their names.
Freya was interested in studying bird species too?
No, just wanted to know their names. Isabelle, Clementine, Myrtle, Lysandre, Genevieve.
Got it, thanks.
For my 21st birthday, she gave me a framed painting. All the birds from a single spring, with their names written underneath. I can't begin to tell you how much I treasured it.
Sounds like you two were close.
I feel like I always struggled to articulate my admiration for her, but she had a way of understanding unspoken things. Can't say I've ever taken an interest in Uncle's astronomy. On occasion I've dared to visit him in his tower, but I always regret it. It's all just a little too abstract for me.
What do you mean?
Oh, did you know the sun is apparently over 400,000 miles wide? Okay, so what should I do with that information? How does it help me?
Don't look at me. You're the one who memorized it.
Oh, did you talk to Poppy already?
Yeah, a little bit.
And did you make any notes of what she told you?
Yeah, I did.
Lovely. Burn them. It'll all be lies.
Nossa.
Why would Poppy lie to us?
Because that's what she does. She's a snake. Looks like one, too.
Don't you think you're being a little unfair, Penny?
She started it.
Acho que alguém não gosta da Pop.
Isn't he strapping?
He is big.
And so brooding.
Kinda sulky, yeah.
I can never tell what's going on in that beautiful head of his.
It just sounds like you don't know him very well.
I don't remember asking for your input.
Ui.
woke early and headed down into the greenhouse to see Fitz. He's always there, crack of dawn, every morning like clockwork.
How come?
It's where he's happiest. That and he has a great deal of work to do every day, watering, pruning, mulching, whatever that is.
Do you help him with the work in the greenhouse?
Oh, no. I wouldn't dream of it. I'd probably break something.
So, you stayed with Fitz the whole day?
No. In the early afternoon, he went back inside. Rather suddenly, as it happens.
Did he say why?
He didn't. Probably just a touch of heat stroke, the poor dear. He's more delicate than you'd think.
What did you do after that?
Let's see. I returned to the aviary to feed my birds.
And how many birds are you responsible for?
Officially 4, but in truth it's more like 400.
Can they not feed themselves?
Of course, and they often do. But I think they just like the company. As do I.
Tá,
Sometime in the evening, I left the aviary and headed back towards my room. But in the hall, I spotted Uncle Pointer heading down the stairs. He was muttering something. Seemed a bit upset, the poor dear. I followed him down, but the grand hall was empty by the time I got there. Empty aside from Detective Hawkshaw, who was loitering over by the library. I don't know what it was, but she looked a little lost. I inquired about the professor, and she told me he'd gone up the Fellow Tower. I ran up the stairs, hoping to catch up with him, but Felix appeared and blocked my path. For some reason, he was coming out of Fitz's bedroom. He looked rather lost, too. I told him I was looking for Uncle. He suggested we look up in Flora's tower room. We could see from the hallway. The door was off its hinges. I knew then something was terribly wrong. A moment later, we were gazing down on the body of poor Freya. Uncle Pointer was there. Fitz, too, standing over in the corner with Fifi and Poppy.
What about Flora?
Of course, silent as ever. Uncle suggested we should leave. Give the others some space, you know. So he and I both returned to our rooms in Pointer Tower.
tá bom, né? Eu adorei a
We
musiquinha.
can get into Penny's room now.
Now, like, right now?
Sim, agora mesmo.
That bed. It's like something from a fairy tale.
Does it feel warm over here, or is it just me?
No, you're right. Maybe the bed has some kind of heater.
Que
It's not
estranho.
coming from the bed. It's coming from the wall.
Que estranho.
A little tea set. Looks recently used.
One of the cups has tea in it.
What's in the other one?
Birdseed.
That's a big window. That's some flower.
There's something weird about it. It just feels out of place.
Uma flor colorida com formato incomum. Parece bem saudável e bem cuidada. A terra no vaso parece fresca. Possui também uma incomum cor azul.
It's a birdhouse.
Are those real birds?
Puzzle!
Nope. They're wooden.
They're using up all the perches. What if a real bird wanted to use it?
Acho que é assim.
That's the one.
Hey, not bad. Did the door open? What's in there?
Aqui, um pedaço de papel rasgado e amassado numa bola. Dentro há pétalas de rosa vermelha. A mensagem está irritadamente escrita no papel. Agora eu pego ela. Eita, muito suspeito agora, hein, Penny? Muito
Traveling
suspeito.
cases.
Empty. All of them.
Vamos vir aqui agora. Fala com esse cara aqui.
Sir? Can you hear me? I'm Private Detective Grimoire. I have some questions for you.
Grimoire. Good mysterious name. I'd rather like it. Felix Fellow at your beck and call.
And, this is my colleague, Sally.
Yeah, that's perfectly good name as well.
Thanks.
If you would, Mr. Fellow, we really need to ask you about the murder.
Well, I must say I'm rather jealous of you two.
Oh, yeah? Why's that?
Out here solving mysteries, exploring new places, uncovering secret rooms, hidden treasures.
Tem alguma
That's
sala
what life is
escondida
all
aqui, não é
about.
possível.
Secret rooms?
Generally speaking, you know, that sort of thing.
Bom, gente, eu vou finalizando o vídeo por aqui, já deu um bom tempo. Se você estiver gostando desse conteúdo, se inscreve no canal, deixe seu comentário, quem é a pessoa mais suspeita aqui pra você. E é isso aí, galera. Muito obrigado pelo carinho, pelo apoio. Me segue nas minhas redes sociais aqui em cima. Valeu!